So, Aisha, you are in financial services, you work for a big company, and you are also very much into technology, and you lead many women who are in fintech space. So, being a technologist myself and coming from financial services background, I know that women in technology really have a lot of potential, but they need some leadership skills, some personality skills. I wanted you to speak about that and see some of the challenges that you have seen and how the program like this can help these women to grow as leaders.
Here is what I know, especially sitting in financial services at a big tech firm, and I've worked on Wall Street, I've now worked in big tech, but here's what I know. There's often this gap between what it takes to actually succeed in the business and the natural skill sets that someone has. Oftentimes women have amazing leadership skills, and they have even better ability to develop those skills over time. The gap tends to be connecting the dots between what it takes to get to that next role and how to curate and grow those leadership skills. The other challenge, I think, is finding the right people to do that. There are plenty of people who are really good at what they do. There aren't a lot of great people to teach what they know. And so it's that combination, I think, that really makes for the right mentor, but also for the right mentee, and begins to help grow that relationship. So the skills are there, the want, the need, the ability is there. It's really about matchmaking and helping women identify the right people to help them grow. What's so challenging about big corporate is there isn't a playbook. And even though there are plenty of books, there isn't this personal guide for you. So I think the other thing that's important in both Wall Street and technology is really finding the person who can begin to help you go through these really complex, behemoth-like organizations. When you find those people who I think are gems, I think that it will open lots of doors for women, especially women in tech, women in FinServ.
Yeah, and great point about playbook. That's exactly what Wings for Growth offers, that playbook that we can bring not only to the mentors and mentees, but also to the companies who are looking to get this kind of program in their company. And then last question is, have you been a mentor? And if you have, which I'm sure you have, right? Then what is your experience as a mentor? And then also kind of combine that with your experience as a mentee. If you have received mentorship from somebody, and how would you do things differently as a mentor and mentee now?
Gosh, what a great question. So I've been a mentee and I've been a mentor, and I continue to be both. And I think for women in these big companies, you will be both if you hope to really drive your career. And as a mentee, I would say I was coached very early on not to call mentors, but to instead find different opportunities to reach out to them periodically, send a note, and to see if they would send a note back, and to just grow a relationship over time and not call it a formal mentor relationship. Why? Because when you do that, a lot of people find it off-putting, or they haven't really decided. There hasn't been a mutual agreement. Versus growing a relationship and just asking every so often the right question at the right moment without being overbearing seem to be the right method for being a mentee at really large companies. Kind of like dating. You don't want to quite say that you're formal before you're formal. And so I was given that coaching fairly early on. And it's worked out nicely, I would say, for me. What I found is that people were very willing to just come alongside me and say, try this or do that, in a way that was informal, yet helpful and meaningful in the moment. And so I've greatly appreciated those relationships and continue to work on building new ones. In terms of being a mentor, I would say that experience has been vastly different. When I was on Wall Street, I was mentoring people who were in high school and in college. When I've been in big tech, I've been mentoring people who are a little bit more junior in their career. And the difference is there is more of an ongoing conversation on a consistent basis. Some of it is formal in that we set a time and a date and we don't call it mentoring, but we get on the phone and say, what do you want to talk about today? Other times it's been an ongoing email about a specific issue. And I think my favorite mentor relationships are the ones that are very casual and issue specific. Hey Aisha, I have to do a big presentation in front of these people and they are your peers. How would you guide me? Those are the ones I think are so impactful because they're instructional yet personal, and you're in it together without it being a formal commitment per se. And so that's how I would describe both my mentor and mentee relationships. Really interesting, helping me grow in both ways, but constantly evolving.
Okay. So I want you to kind of factor in now, because Wings for Growth is all about formality, right? So
Formal structure.
And the reason why we have a formality is because we want to put accountability in place.
Yes.
Right? So in informal mentoring, there's lack of accountability.
That's right.
Which could be problem solver, but it's not a growth plan.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question now that fast forward, do you believe that the mentoring program now need to be almost very formal, like schools, where mentors are accountable to help somebody develop their growth plan?
Yes.
Right? So it's not just the problem solving, spot mentoring. There's a little bit more responsibility that mentor owns,
Yes.
right? So I'm going to do a question, follow-up question.
Yes. Okay.
So now the fast forward, right? You have been mentoring as a mentor, you've been receiving mentorship. Do you agree that there needs to be some kind of accountability for a mentor? So it's more than I want to get some advice because I have a problem. Mm-hmm. So it becomes more on the spot, in the time, problem solving. Compare that to with somebody who is mentoring me to grow my career as a leader. Mm-hmm. So do you agree that there is an importance to have some kind of formality which Wings for Growth really brings to the table?
I totally agree that there needs to be a formality. Part of the reason is because we have to give back. I feel like as mentors, we have a responsibility to reach back to others to say, I've been helped, let me help you, and to do that with a high degree of accountability. What you want mentors to do is also be in the boat with you, to be in the boat with the person who is trying to advance their career. And the best way to do that is to put structure around it, to put some nuts and bolts around it, and to make sure that both people are on the same path, or at least very interested in continuing down that path. And so I emphatically believe that it is important for there to be a structure and accountability, and for mentors to demonstrate their sense of responsibility to others.
I have one last question. I think you would love this. As a mother, how do you think as a mother who has a daughter, how do you think the men and women of today need to take charge of leadership development in women specifically?
That's a great question. I think mentoring women and men is a very different path, because one, there are very few who mentor women, and as a mother, and a mother of girls and boys, I do believe that my son will naturally get mentors, people who will come alongside him and say, let me show you the way, that my daughters will have to go out of their way to curate. And so if women can help other women, I think that this will make the path for daughters a lot more clear, a lot more effective, a lot more impactful. Madeleine Albright has a saying, she says, there's a place in hell for women who don't help other women.
Well said.
And so we definitely need to make sure that mentors are certainly helping the next generation, but particularly our daughters.
Okay, perfect. This was amazing.